Welcome to the West is Best podcast, episode number 2. I, Dan Wedstein, am back here with my guy, Quinn Thomas, so we can go across the nation covering the three most important sports, at least to us. And as you always know, we are here on the Answers 42 Media Network. Let's go ahead and jump in here, Quinn. We got lots to go over. The Heat,
Yes, we do.
yeah, the Heat are up 2-0, and Embiid is ruled out of Game 3. You said last time that the Sixers have a chance. With this whole change of events and him no longer being available for Game 3, do the Sixers still have a chance?
First of all, I don't think he was ever supposed to be ready for Game 3. I think it was more Game 4 or 5. That being said, no, they don't. And it's it's not looking good, and I feel really bad for Sixers fans because I don't have any issue with them. It's a fun team when Embiid is on the court, but in retrospect, that whole Ben Simmons James Harden trade was, it's going to end up being good for Brooklyn in the long run, but it's not looking good for either team right now.
No, not really. Yeah, I mean, when you allow 4 players to score over 18 points, you definitely don't have a chance. There's nothing you can do. I mean, Jimmy Butler had 22, Bam Adebayo had 23, Tyler Hero had 18, and Victor Oladipo had 19 in this game. If the Sixers can't play defense, especially without Embiid, yeah, definitely no chance whatsoever. Like, I didn't believe they had a chance when we spoke on Monday. Now it's even less of a chance. Like, we went from Dumb and Dumber, there's a chance, to, bro, just pack it up, go home. Y'all are done, especially without Embiid. If he's not going to be back until Game 4, I mean, they're already down 2-0. There's no way that they're going to be winning, tomorrow. So they're going to be down at minimum 3-0 going into Game 4 with a banged up Embiid that probably still seeing double, if not triple, with a broken eye socket. This series is done, y'all. If for all you Sixers fans that are out here trying to convince people that there's still a chance, I need y'all to go find your therapist, get your pills, whatever it is that you need to do to calm yourself down. But it's over. Y'all got to deal with it.
Yeah, no, it's not looking good at all. But I will say, we talked in the last episode, and you said who on the Sixers was going to score, and I brought up my guy Tyrese Maxey, and I'm pretty sure you said he's not going to be a guy that scores 30 plus a night, and he was the one guy that showed up in Game 2 for the Sixers. So I feel like I deserve a little bit of credit there.
I will give you the pat on the back. Yes, you did bring up Tyrese Maxey. I did say he doesn't scare you. But again, if Tyrese Maxey is your guy scoring 30 points, your team doesn't scare me. I will let Maxey score 30 points all day, every day, if they're going to turn around and allow Harden to only get 24 and 9. Like, he can have all the 30-point games he wants if that's how Harden is going to play on the other side there. So, yeah, I give you your credit, but again, that doesn't scare me.
No, and I think a bigger question is, where are the Sixers going from here? Like, how are they going to build outside of this season? Obviously, they're going to build around Embiid. He's an MVP type player. But they got to walk from Harden, right? I mean, what's their next move? Because their whole future was built around Embiid and Simmons developing, and obviously he never did, past how dominant he was in his rookie year. But where are they going from here?
Yeah, how about that process, right? Like, Philly fans have been screaming, trust the process, for years now, and it is literally falling apart before their eyes. Because, like you said, where do they go from here? Because
their process was making it to the playoffs or winning a round in the playoffs. And you know what? When you were one of the worst teams in the league, the worst team in the league, I would have been happy with that. But they thought the championship was coming their way, and it still might. But they've got to kind of figure out a way to find someone that complements Embiid's game.
Yes.
And that wasn't Simmons, and it's definitely not Harden. You know who I think would have been a better acquisition for them at the deadline?
Who's that?
CJ McCollum. I think that if they had
love that.
I think if they had gone out and gotten McCollum instead of Harden, that probably would have been a better deal for them in the short term and the long term.
I have to completely agree with that. That move would have made this roster scary with or without Embiid. With that unlimited range that McCollum has, like he has terrorized my Nuggets for years. So number one, I would have loved to have him out of the conference. And number two, that two-man game between Embiid and McCollum would have been nasty.
Yeah,
It would have just
absolutely.
been unstoppable. So
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%.
Well, that's concerning.
What's me agreeing with you?
Yeah, well, that is always concerning. We're not the
I missed something there, but it's
I'm
okay.
just listening to something in my wall.
Oh, oh, so you got some messengers trying to give you a new note,
No,
passing in
I got
class.
some Sixers fans that live in the walls of my apartment, apparently.
Okay, that is definitely concerning, bro. You might want to get that checked out. But moving on from a team that has no chance to one that is fighting for one, John Morant went off for 47 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, and tying the series up with with your Golden State Warriors 1-1. Are you still as confident in the Warriors as you were prior to the series, or are you really starting to have the years taken off?
Well, listen, I think you were more confident in this series for the Warriors than I was in the last episode. So I don't think I'm any more or less confident. And I actually think we both predicted the Grizzlies would win game two. Now, John Morant can go off for 47, 8, and 8. That's not a problem. He can do that every single game, and we can still win. Now, I think what's more concerning is the Warriors are likely going to be without Gary Payton II for the remainder of the playoffs. And I think he was a big piece to this team and a big piece in how this team was able to be a top defense. And he was going to be our way to shut down, and I put that in quotes because it's hard to shut down John Morant, but he was going to be the way to do it if we were able to do it. So that's concerning. Um, I don't like Dylan Brooks at all. I didn't before this series, and I definitely don't now. But I think that's where I'm more concerned as opposed to Jog lighting it up on the score on the stat sheet because he's going to do that. And I think the Warriors are still probably the front runners to win this series. I do see them still winning this series, but they've got to. I mean, they've got to play and they've got to figure out a way to contain Ja as much as possible. But if he's going to score 47, you just can't get beat by the secondary options in Memphis. You can't let Jaren Jackson go for 30. You can't let Bane catch fire. And if that's all, if that's all taken care of, we're still going to walk away with a win.
So pretty much you're right where you were. And yes, this question wasn't just for you, it was for both of us. I definitely had a lot more faith in the Warriors being able to just walk through this series. But Jaw and company, and then the loss of Peyton on top of it, definitely has put a hamper. I see this being a lot closer than I thought originally. Like, I really thought this would be a sweep. I didn't think that Morant and company were just at that next step yet, like we talked about before, where they just need that extra player, that Drew Holiday type guy to really tighten up the D and help facilitate some things on the offensive end. But the way they played in game two kind of makes me worry that even though I don't have a dog in this fight, it does make me worry that my prediction was way off and that not only are the Grizzlies going to win one game or two games, they might actually take this to a 7-game series and wear out your Warriors before they get to the next series, which is doubly concerning when you like you just said, Peyton 2.0 is gone most likely for the entire playoffs, no matter how far y'all get,
Yeah,
because that man was a pest in the Nuggets series.
that man
When
was
he
a
came on the floor, it was completely different defensively. Go ahead.
that man was a pest all season, and I just really want to say that it sucks to see something like that happen. Gary Payton II has bounced around this league for so long. He has worked so hard to finally been given a chance, and I don't even want to say given because he earned that chance with the Warriors, and he was finally shining in the playoffs. He was a role player, but a key piece of that defense. He had some big shots in Game 5 against the Nuggets, and he was doing some things offensively and so far in this Memphis series. So the fact that he's had his playoff experience this year cut short off, I'm going to say it was a dirty play. It really sucks to see that. You don't want to see anyone get hurt, but when it was easily avoidable. You don't want to hear it.
Yeah, most definitely. It's an absolutely horrible thing to happen, especially to somebody that's really was building a truly remarkable storyline. Like, I mean, could you imagine if he'd have just kept up his play, got all the way to the finals, got that ring? I mean, being able to go back to daddy and tell those stories, I mean, I think would have been absolutely epic for him. So yeah, definitely that storyline being squashed is a horrible thing to see, and the way that it happened was just, I mean, unacceptable. I would 100% agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. But back to your point, I envisioned this series going 6 or 7 games already. And I don't think anything that happened in game 2 changes my opinion on that. I'm a little less confident, sure, going out through the rest of the playoffs so you don't have Peyton. But other than that, stay the course, come back home, win game 3. And it's fine. All you want to do when you start the series on the road is take away home court advantage. And we did that with game 1. So now it's back
There you
to
go.
gain that home court advantage, win 2, and see what happens for games potentially 6 and 7.
That's great. So going from basketball problems to baseball problems, the major league has a ball problem. So are you team dead or alive?
I'm team consistency.
I like it.
So
The
look,
invisible third option.
obviously fans want to see more home runs. It's good for the game. It's not great for the pitchers, but it's good for the game. If if Major League Baseball wants live balls flying out of the stadium, home runs at a record rate, great, fine. If you want to deaden the balls, if you want there to be fewer home runs, good, fine. But if you're going to have different balls first, second, and third inning, that's a problem. Like this is all kind of coming off the Chris Bassett interview after that series in St. Louis, and he kind of went in on the Major League Baseball and calling out their lack of consistency, and I think that leaves opportunities for people to get hurt. Whether it's a pitcher hurting his arm, whether it's a hitter because getting hit because the pitcher can't control where that ball is going because of the lack of consistency in the weight distribution, that's a problem. Or if it's people getting injured on line drives back to the pitcher because it's just a problem. So again, if you want a live balls, great. If you want dead balls, great. Just pick one. Make sure the weight distribution is uniform on every single ball. And I just went blurry. We don't love that. Then we just stay consistent. And I think that's what players have a problem with right now.
Yes, and I mean, there's actually just recently a couple players that back that up, and they are actually pitchers. That's Rick Pavetta and Rich Hill. Um, oh, we lost Quinn, but he'll be back. Don't worry, guys. Um, but Nick Pavetta and Rich Hill just came out a couple of days ago and said essentially the exact same thing that Quinn just said, is that they don't care which ball they pick, just pick one and let them know. The biggest issue with players is the fact that there is no consistency in the communication. So, what I was just saying, I know you just lost us, but I was just agreeing with you and bringing up some pitchers that just said the same things you did, which were Rick Pavetta and Rich Hill of the Boston Red Sox. They came out and they said the exact same thing you just said. It's like, hey, before the season, just let us know. Is it a live ball? Is it a dead ball? That way I know what I'm throwing. And another thing they brought up was the inconsistency of the rub down. So not only are the balls inconsistent, but the way the umps rub them down is inconsistent, which for those of you that aren't quite versed in baseball, haven't played it, rubbing a baseball down does major differences to a ball depending upon how you do it. If you got a guy that just kind of dusts them up, they're really, really slippery. If you get a guy that really gets that mud down in there, you actually got some grit and some grime and some grip to that ball. So if you already got a slick, lightened up live ball, as they call it, and then they rub it down improperly, it's super slick. It's like trying to grab a round ice cube. And then the other extreme is you get a ball that feels like somebody tacked it up with illegal substances. So I don't know how this has to be fixed or is going to be fixed, but Major League has the key. Major League Baseball has the key. They bought Rawlings 4 years ago. They own the company that makes the baseballs. So this whole rigmarole of them trying to say they don't know what's going on or they don't know how to fix it is absolute BS. They have all the control. And I'm really tired of seeing Manfred, well, we'll call him Man Fraud because that's exactly what he is. He is the worst commissioner in baseball. And on top of that, not only is he bad, he's bad at lying. That's infuriating.
It's a good one. I mean, I thought you should have just ended your sentence with "I'm really tired of seeing Manfred."
That's a good end. I like that.
I mean, you're exactly right. The whole, I'm disappointed a little bit in the Players Association, and this is kind of a rant for potentially a different day. But
go for it.
We had this lockout, which was 100% Manfred's choice. And the whole purpose was that the players were going to be taking a stand on a number of key issues. You would have figured the baseballs would have been one of them. And maybe they were. And maybe it just got to a point where they had to come to a certain level of compromise and couldn't address everything that was wrong with the game in order for there to actually be a season and for the game to come back. And I think kind of they had to weigh the pros and cons of holding out longer or whatever it was. But there are a number of things. And, we'll kind of talk about this in our next section. I'm going to allude to it. But I would like to see, we would have all liked to see, the Players Association talked about this, a number of people have talked about a salary cap, a salary minimum, just something to do. And I think, I don't want to change the subject too much, but I think it all comes down to what happened these CBA negotiations that led there to be such a discrepancy with the baseballs, and then getting into the next subject with team disparity.
Yes, definitely. And I mean, you just look at the disingenuousness, words are hard, of the brass in MLB. Like, you have Manfred that's sitting here and he's trying to play kumbaya with all these players. He's doing all the lip service. He gave them headphones on opening day. Like, that's how much this man is groveling to these players. But at the same time is sitting here and ignoring probably the biggest issue in baseball right now. And it's sad to say that it's one of the physics of baseball. Like, you're playing with the integrity of the game with the ball. Like, why? Why would you even do that without being transparent of what you're doing? Like, that none of us knew that baseball was actually using, like, we had our assumptions, but none of us knew they were using two different baseballs at the end of last year until the Washington Post went and did an investigative report. I swear I can talk. But they did a report at the end of last year, towards the playoffs, where they broke it down, and then MLB comes back and says, well, we had a production issue for COVID. Then they have to go out and do another report that shows that was bogus and that they had all the production they needed. They were just wanting to do experiments in live games and not tell anybody. And then you'd have some teams that had the advantage of a live ball where they could sit there and knock the ball out at 80 miles an hour off the bat. And then another team that could hit it 102 miles an hour off the bat, but the ball so dead it dies in the outfield. Like, how is that not playing with the integrity of the game? How is that not playing with people's emotions when they find out that their team might have had a disadvantage that another team didn't have? And that team got to score points and make their fan base happy, but my team sucked simply because you gave us the sucky ball. Like, that as a fan makes you feel dirty, does it not?
Yeah, and you brought up integrity, and I really think integrity is a buzzword that the commissioner's office and kind of these old heads around the game will use to, to keep the game from changing. But when they are trying to change the game, then the word integrity loses all meaning. So when you hear integrity, what does it often refer to? It often refers to last episode's subject of unwritten rules or whatever it may be, but it's never doled out equally.
Right. Integrity only matters when it's at face value when it comes to Major League Baseball. It's all lip service. They don't care. Manfred does not care. I swear on everything that Manfred's sole goal in his life is to kill baseball. Like, I am
It
convinced.
could be. It could be. Everything he's done for this game is questionable.
Exactly. I mean, name one thing he's done that you're like, yeah, that's good.
He's tried
I
to
can't.
improve. He's tried to improve pace of play, but hasn't done it effectively or well. I like the idea of improving pace of play, but he hasn't done it well. I was
Right.
trying to give
Yeah.
him some credit.
Exactly. It's all everything with him is lip service. It goes back to what I was just talking about with Rick Pavetta and Rich Hill. Their main thing was actions speak louder than words. And at this point, there should be no more words from Manfred. He's given all the words. We're tired of it. We don't want a dictionary. We want you to act. So please do your job. To steal it from Bill Belichick, just do your job. That's all we want. Just shut up and do your job. That's it. So, moving from dead or alive to who is truly alive in the major leagues, we are going to give you all our top 5 teams from the first month of baseball. I will go ahead and let Quinn go first with his power rankings, as he already knows mine.
Yep. My number 5 is the San Francisco Giants. Now, obviously, earlier in the league, a lot of people had them lower. I think their win-loss expectancy was 85.5. I mean, come on, they just came off 107 wins. I didn't expect them to win 108, but I had them a little bit higher than that. And if you had asked me a week ago, the Giants would probably be at number 2 or 3. I think they've been sputtering of late for a number of different reasons, and I'll go through the fact that they've got a lot of injuries or a lot of people on the COVID list. Doesn't matter. They just got swept by the Dodgers. They're 14-10 and 4th in the division. Number 4, I'm going to go with the Toronto Blue Jays. It's hard to ignore that roster. Their offense is incredibly stout. They've got 2 really solid starting pitchers, and potentially 3 if we see more from Jose Barrios. But Alek Manoah and Kevin Gossman are elite. That bullpen is a little bit shaky unless you go to the back end. What was his name? Romano. He's been lighting it up so far to start the season. Really like the Blue Jays. Want to see a little bit more out of their pitching staff. All right, number 3. I think I have to go with the New York Yankees. I know they've got the best record in the league, but something about them just isn't sitting right for me to put them a little higher than number 3. They've got a great roster, great offense, and they've had great pitching so far. So number 3, I've got the Yankees. Number 2, I've got the New York Mets. The Mets are special, and I don't like them that much, but that's a special team. And, obviously this is coming out right after they were down 7-1 against the Phillies in the top of the 9th and scored 7 runs to take the lead. But they've had some great wins this year. We saw them. They played my Giants. We lost 3 out of 4, including getting swept in a doubleheader. That's a really good team. They've got a great pitching staff and they've got a great offense, and they're doing all of this without the best pitcher on the planet in Jacob deGrom. But really, really like the Mets. And the only reason they're not number 1 is because the Los Angeles Dodgers are fielding a super team. But moving on to number 1 is the Cincinnati Reds. No, joking. It is the LA Dodgers. It's just an all-star team.
Yeah, most definitely. I do like that we have the same top team. I'll just go ahead and give that away. But we do have a little bit of differences, so I do like this. My 5th team, my number 5 team, is going to be the Milwaukee Brewers. They are a team that is built by starting pitching. They continue to get good innings from Eric Lauer, Adrian Hauser, and Aaron Ashby, and that doesn't even include their perennial Cy Young contenders. So they're sitting at 17-8, leading their division. Excuse me, really trying to talk here without letting out what's ever in my throat. I apologize. But anyways, Milwaukee Brewers 17-8. That pitching staff is absolutely insane. If they just get average offensive production, this team is going to go deep into the playoffs, and they could shock some people with the way that they play once they get to the postseason if that pitching holds up and injuries subside. My number 4 team is your Giants. I hate the fact that I am a Rockies fan sitting here talking about 2 other NL West teams in this segment, but I digress. San Francisco Giants, I don't know what it is with y'all. Y'all drive me nuts every season. I know you do, but it absolutely annoys me to see y'all take an entire roster essentially of no names. I know you got some, some all-stars, things of that nature, but it seems every year y'all have some no-name squad that just goes out and mashes somehow, some way, and pitchers that haven't pitched in the majors for years or have been absolutely abysmal at like 4, 5, 6 other stops, all of a sudden they come to San Francisco and they're Cy Young contenders. However that happens, I don't care, but it is, and it's just where y'all are at. San Francisco Giants, number 4. That lineup, I mean, again, Brandon Belt, Evan Longoria, Tommy LaStella, Steve Duggar, Lamont Wade Jr. Does anybody outside of San Francisco know who those people are? Do they know what they look like?
Wait,
No,
I have to I have to interject there. People know who Evan Longoria is, or people know who Brandon Belt is. He's won a world championship. He's been an all-star. People know who Brandon Crawford is. But I do think it's funny that you pointed out those names, because every single person that you just listed is either on the COVID IL or on the IL and hasn't played yet this season.
Right. And that's what I'm saying.
And we're
go. Yeah, you're sitting at 14-10.
Yeah.
Second place in the division. Like, that annoys me so much. It's like, I swear, I try to put hexes on y'all and I'll be like, okay, this is the one that's going to work. They're going to suck. And then I turn around and y'all just win. You just win. And I hate it. And I hate you for being their fan. But anyways, we'll move on.
You don't like seeing Tyro Estrada towards the top of the league in RBIs?
That's what I'm saying. Like, where do y'all find these dudes?
Well, he came from New York, but we've got a guy in our front office, Farhan Zaidi, who will find just scrap metal and put him in a lineup, and Gabe Kapler put him in a lineup and they'll be successful. He was the one that found Max Muncy for the Dodgers.
Right. Like, yes, y'all made an epic signing when you got that man. It was probably one of the least ballyhooed moves, but y'all absolutely stole him from the Dodgers. Because like you said, he was the one that was sitting there finding all those gems for the Dodgers, and now y'all have him there in San Francisco. And it's just, it annoys me because instead of what y'all do, my Rockies go and get a guy named Bill Schmidt that's worked for the team for 20 years. When have the Rockies been good in that 20 years?
They made it to the World Series at 2007.
Dude. Yeah.
They got swept, but they made it.
With Bill Schmidt as a scout. Like, he was a scout then. Like, come on. It's annoying to watch every other team in this division have an owner that gives a damn. Mm-hmm. I am the only person here that does not have an owner that cares about anything more than the party deck. Like, that's what Momford is worried about. Can he fill the party deck? Not can he fill the win column. Can he fill the party deck? That's all he cares about.
To be fair, you went 15-10.
Yes, but that's out of luck, dude. This team, I am and always will be a Rockies fan, but I'm also a realist. This team is not ending the season above 500. Period. When you look at the inconsistencies of the bullpen, when you look at that lineup that still can't hit, even though they play in Colorado and can't get the timely hit, it's going to get ugly really, really quick. I'd say probably end of May, beginning of June. That's when the June swoon hits and the Rockies suck and they get knocked out of contention. But I don't want to talk about the Rockies right now because they're not in my top 5. Let's go to number 3. This is one I think we matched up on. It's the New York Mets for me. Or no, I think you had them too. But the New York Mets are number 3 for me. Again, like you said, they are special. They are just, I would say, like half a notch below the Dodgers when it comes to talent. So I completely agree with you when you say the New York Mets are special. I mean, they're so loaded. They got rid of Robinson Cano. I know he hasn't really done much of the last few years, but he's still a top pedigree talent. He's not the talent he was, but he can still be a starter on most teams. And they got rid of him to keep a guy named Travis Jankowski. That tells you how loaded that team is. And again, they are doing this without Jacob deGrom. The number 2 team in baseball for me is the New York Yankees. They do scare me a bit, especially that starting rotation. That's where you really have to worry. Their bullpen's pretty solid. Their lineup is absolutely jacked, as we all know, especially with the 2 tight ends that they have in the middle of their lineup and Judge and Stanton. So they're absolutely loaded for bear. They're going to make another deep run. They're at 18-7. So they are number 2. And then the number 1 team, which absolutely pains me to say, which I know I'm sure Quinn had the same problems, is the Los Angeles Dodgers. Because like you said, absolute super team from 1 through 9, they have all-stars. And
I'm
then
not.
the pitching staff. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, sorry to interject. I thought you were done. Go ahead.
Oh, no. Sorry. I was saying pitching staff, probably the most concern, I guess you could say. And then that bullpen has been almost historically good. So if anybody has anybody above the Dodgers, they don't watch baseball. And that's, again, coming from 2 guys that like other teams in the same division. That should tell you something.
Yeah, I'm not completely convinced that the Dodgers are going to run away with this division. I do think the Giants are going to kind of bounce back and get some pieces back and start to win again, in which case it's going to be another one of those years like we saw last year where they're going to be battling it out until the very end. And I think you have to throw the Padres in that mix. We haven't seen the best of the Padres. We haven't seen them with Tatis. We haven't seen any of these 3 teams at full strength. The Dodgers have been the closest to it. But I'm not willing to say that the Dodgers are far and away the best team for the rest of the year. But right now, with what they put out on the field every day and the way they're playing, even though their offense has, again, been struggling a little bit. I say that after they just whooped up on the Giants last night. But they are the best team right now, not saying that's going to continue throughout the whole year. And I think that might just be me trying to make myself feel better for putting them at number 1 as a Giants fan. But I do have faith that this division is going to be much closer than them being far and away the number 1 team.
Hey, my guy, whatever you got to do to limit the PTSD, I completely understand.
Man, we won the division last year.
I'm saying I'm a Rockies fan. So all the PTSD, I got it all
Yeah.
from all of you. And again, think about this division. The Western Division is insane. We just gave 2 spots in the top 5 to 2 teams. The Padres, for me, 6 or 7, you can make an argument. I wouldn't put them anywhere below 7. And then, way down here where you can't even see them are the Rockies and the Diamondbacks. So it's going to get ugly in this division. The top 3 teams, I think, will beat up on each other. So like you said, I don't see the Dodgers really running away with it. I do believe it's going to be a 3-horse race all the way down to the finish line.
I think it'll be a 2-horse race with one sneaking into a wild card spot. Whether that one is the Giants or the Padres, it won't be the Dodgers. It just won't be unless they have like the worst injury plague we've ever seen. They're going to be one of those teams contending, but I think it's very possible the Padres just Padre.
Quite possibly, because that's just kind of what they do.
Exactly.
Poor San Diego fans. Like, I swear, they have got to have the worst luck between what the Chargers used to do in San Diego and still do in LA, and then with the Padres, even after they got all these players, all this hype, Padres are going to Padre. San Diego teams are going to San Diego. I guess
I'll never forget 2010. Being a Giants fan, I was like, oh my God, we've got a chance of winning this division, but the Padres are really, really good this year. And then they lost 10 games in a row in September. And we ended up winning the division.
It's always in the big spots with San Diego teams, regardless of what sport. It always seems that when they need to play their best, they play their worst.
Or even if they just need to tie a game. Sorry, we're not talking about football. But even when they need
we're close.
We're close.
But no, yeah, you're 100% correct. I mean, that San Diego fan base has got to be the most snake-bitten fan base in history of all sports. Yeah. I don't feel sorry for them. They're insufferable as hell, so I guess they get what they deserve. I guess that's just their karma. So, excuse me.
I don't want to ad-lib too much, but we are 5 minutes ahead of schedule, and I kind of brought this up when we were talking about the dead balls and kind of the team disparity, and I made a joke about them earlier. But how bad are these Cincinnati Reds?
Historically, there's been 4 other teams that have either won, or sorry, have either lost at least 18 games or more. And this Cincinnati team has scored the least points, gave up the most points, scored the least runs, gave up the most runs. Talking about too many sports here. And so, in every single way, the Reds suck. Because, I mean, even the Rockies made them look bad
Well,
in Coors
yeah,
Field this past weekend.
I think
It's,
it's also it goes to ownership, right? That Reds ownership and front office, they have zero intention of fielding a team that can win a game. They would be fine with a 0 and 162. I mean,
yeah,
they've got nothing on payroll, which is kind of a thing that you see with the bottom teams, small market teams. Although I feel like Cincinnati could have had a competitive team this year. It's not small market, but it's not big market, but it's not
Tampa
as
Bay.
small as like Oakland or Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay is a small market team that consistently puts out a winning product. Oakland is paying their whole team payroll is less than what Max Scherzer is making this year, but they are winning more than the Reds. So
Yes.
this Reds front office, they could have kept Castellanos, they could have kept Miley. They could have fielded a team to this year that could have pushed for a playoff spot. Not that they were a true contender, but they could have done that and had zero interest in doing that, zero loyalty to that fan base, and just you know what, this year's a wash. Trade away everything, save money, and I don't know what the plan is, but it's embarrassing for that ownership, that front office, that team, those players. They don't want to be on a team that's historically bad. And it's embarrassing for the sport. I talked a little bit about the CBA negotiations. I wish they would have done something to make it more competitive from top to bottom. There's no incentive for a team to win if they're not going to win a World Series. And there's no way to penalize a team that is uncompetitive. And
Yeah.
it's ridiculous to me.
Yeah. Cincinnati has absolutely, positively, fully embraced the suck. They are full tank mode. There's no doubt about it. Because, like you said, there's a differentiation between what the Cincinnati Reds are doing and what the A's and Tampa Bay are doing. They consistently put out a competitive product. It might not be the best team. It may not be a team that can win the World Series, even though Tampa Bay is really doing a dang good job of even putting that out on the field with a much smaller payroll than pretty much any other team in the league, and they consistently win. So yes, you can be cheap and win. So whenever a team tries to tell you that they don't have the finances to compete, again, absolute BS. And without a salary cap, without any type of incentive to make these teams actually compete, you're going to have these guys like Cincinnati, like Dick Montfort in Colorado, that are more worried about the bottom line and how much money they're going to make than how many wins they're going to create. And that has to change, because putting people through seasons like what is about to happen in Cincinnati is unacceptable, because it's done on purpose. It's one thing if you just have an inept franchise and they suck because they suck, but when you suck intentionally, that's the worst.
Yeah.
But going from the worst to something that could be epic, Robert Griffin III goes on the Rich Eisen show and states that he wants to make a comeback. Do you believe this is a good idea, or is it just an athlete not able to move on from the sport that he loves?
I don't care. Like
I don't care.
I really don't care what RG3 wants to do. I've got nothing against the man. He was electric to watch at Baylor. He was electric to watch his first couple years in the league, but I don't care. If he comes back, he'll be a backup, and he might end up playing a game, and it doesn't matter. Like, he's not ever going to be the RG3 we thought he was going to be right out of college. It's done. And if he wants to come back to the NFL, he wants to come back and play football, all power to him. Whether it's the NFL, whether it's a different football league, do it. I hope he does. I hope he finds fulfillment. But in terms of talking about the NFL on a basis of trying to find out who's going to be competitive, what the players are, he's not even on that radar. And if he wants to come back, good for him. I hope he does. But I don't care.
Now, something that you might care about. Did you know that he just recently ran a 4.33 40?
He's fast.
Yes.
We know he's fast.
But I'm
But
saying,
is he
like,
going to
the
come back
man's
and be a competitive quarterback? There are fast quarterbacks out there. Taysom Hill is a fast quarterback. He's not going to be competitive at that position.
Taysom Hill also doesn't have a 3,000-yard season under his belt. But I digress. To me, this is not the typical athlete not being able to let go. Brett Favre was the athlete that could not let go. To me, RG3 is still young. He's still in great shape. I know there's a difference between being in shape and being in football shape. Trust me, I understand that. But that's what training camp is for. And I honestly believe, if nothing else, like you said, Robert Griffin III could be that great mentor quarterback for your mobile quarterback. Say Chicago, I say that's a good landing spot for him. That's one of the places he mentioned. Atlanta, I think would be a good place for him to go and mentor Ritter and Mariota. You know, things of that nature, and then give him a shot. Why not? I mean, honestly, we have guys starting in this league named Davis Mills. You can't tell me that RG3 can't be better than Davis Mills. Like there are several landing spots this man could at least compete, if not win the starting job. And at the very least, God, what is my voice today? But at the very least, he can go somewhere and mentor somebody. I think he's really shown since he went to ESPN that he's embraced that mentor role, something he really kind of started in Baltimore, backing up Lamar Jackson. So I think that he could actually come and provide value and be at the very least a good backup quarterback that you can trust to go into a game and not screw it up. Because even as a rookie, nobody sat there and was like, dang, RG3's dumb with the ball. He just lost the game. That just didn't happen with RG3, not in college or at any stop in the NFL. And what's the main thing you want from your backup quarterback? That he's going to go in there and he's not going to blow his wad in the first throw down the field. So to me, I say go for it, man. Let RG3 live out his dream. Let him have some fun in a training camp. And if he shows out and makes the roster, great. If not, you know what? At least he knows at that point that the career's over. Maybe he can move on.
Sure. Again, I'm not saying that he shouldn't do it. I'm just saying I don't think him returning to football is going to have any impact on the league or any impact on how we see his career. Now,
Well, I mean,
again,
think about it. What
yeah,
if he does come back and ball out? Like, is that not an epic storyline?
I agree. If that happens, that's amazing to see. I will gladly eat my words, but I just don't see that happening.
Okay, okay. I can understand that. But going from something you don't care about to something you should care about, the NFL schedule was released. So tell me, what are the matchups you are looking forward to?
There are a couple really good ones, actually. I mean, the Bills and the Chiefs play each other. That's going to be my game of the year. Really, really excited for that. I think any of the divisional matchups within the AFC West, any of those are going to be exciting. You get to see the Chiefs and the Bucks Super Bowl rematch from a few years ago. Great, love to see that. You're going to see the Chargers Charger against the Raiders a few times. But I do think that my game of the year, and this is might be a little bit of West Coast San Francisco bias, even though I'm not a 49ers fan. I want to see what Mike McDaniel does against the 49ers because he's got a lot of those 49er pieces. I want to see how much of an impact he had on that 49ers offense as opposed to just the Shanahan offensive train.
That will be a lot of fun. I agree. I just want to see what Mike McDaniels does in a leading role where he actually gets to call the plays. Because a lot of people don't realize the man has never called a play. He was in Shanahan's system where Shanahan called all the plays. So let's see how much was that Shanahan and how much of that was actually McDaniels. So that is a very good matchup. Like you said, all those are great. You also have Los Angeles Rams versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the last two Super Bowl winners. That should be a good game. I like the Green Bay Packers and Buffalo Bills. That'll be a lot of fun with Aaron Rodgers and Josh Allen going up against each other, as well as you said, the Chiefs and the Bucks. But I think everybody kind of probably saw this one coming from a mile away. But my number one matchup is the Denver Broncos going to Seattle.
Yep.
That game, I just can't wait to see Russ cook and show them what they should have done with him with what Hackett does in this offense, with Russell Wilson having all of these weapons, an actual offensive lineman outside of right tackle. Won't go too far into that, but outside of right tackle, he has an absolutely solid line in front of him and a running game with a two-headed monster. Like, this man has never had the weapons that he has right now in Denver. So to see him go up against that Seattle team that's probably going to be still in rebuilding mode, and then the battle that's going to be between watching what Russ does to his old team, and then if Drew Lock can maybe get a measure of revenge against the Broncos, that matchup right there has my blood pressure through the roof.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool to see Russ go back to Seattle. Just the Seahawks aren't going to be good, right? I mean, we kind of said the same thing about when Brady went back to New England the year after he left. Like, the Patriots weren't going to be good. They weren't good. I want to make that clear. But anytime you have a good head coach, which I think we still consider Pete Carroll a decent head coach.
I would say so.
Question mark. Another one of those. He's a good coach.
Super Bowl winner.
Sure. Yeah. Super Bowl winner. So he has to get some credit for that. But like, he's not going to go down without a fight. So it could be a really good game. It could be one of those games where Russ just goes in, throws for 450 yards, 5 touchdowns, and they blow him out 46-7. Like, it could
okay
be
with that.
I know you're okay with that. You're a Broncos fan. Of course you'd be okay with that. You'd be ridiculous to say, you know what? I hope it's a 21-22 game and it's won on a field goal. Come on.
I mean, we need to get some revenge for what Russ and them did to us in the Super Bowl, okay? Let me have my fantasy.
Sure.
All right? Leave me alone.
You know what would be really funny? Is if Cam Newton came out and played for the Seahawks in that game.
Wouldn't it, though? That would be an interesting storyline. But no, I really got to see Drew Lock. Like, I have been beaten to death over this take. I believe Lock has all the tools.
Yeah, Von Miller does too. He throws a really pretty ball, according to Von Miller.
Yes. Well, according to Von Miller, every quarterback he's ever played with throws a really pretty ball. So Von Miller's the last person you want to take QB advice from on whether or not you should believe in a guy. Literally, this man sat there and said Brock Osweiler was the future while Peyton Manning was still on the roster. So
look,
take anything that Miller says about quarterbacks with a grain of salt unless he's trying to hunt them down.
Brock Osweiler.
Yes.
That man got paid so much money
to do nothing.
No.
My goodness.
The only quarterback that's got paid a lot of money to do nothing is Chase Daniel.
I mean,
how many snaps has he played in an NFL game, and then what's his career earnings?
I mean, true. Probably him and Josh Johnson are probably right there with each other. Because again, what has Josh Johnson done? But the man's been a backup for like 15 years.
Chase Daniel has earned $40 million in the NFL and has thrown 8 touchdowns during his 13-year NFL career.
Okay, that might be a little bit better than Josh Johnson, but I'm sure his numbers are pretty close.
I bet RG3 could do that. How about that? I bet I'll concede that RG3 could throw 8 touchdowns in 13 years while getting paid $40 million.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty safe bet. I like that. Way to just go back and throw him under the bus a second time. Why not? Let's have fun with it. See if we can get it to back up next time. That's great, man. I like that. But no, I think we got some pretty good matchups there. I mean,
yeah.
Do y'all think of any other matchups? Please let us know down in the comments. Leave us anywhere. Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. Let us know what your favorite matchups are coming in the 2022 season here. Let me check one last thing. Yeah, we're good. All right. I think this is a good place. So, real quick before we go, is there anything you want to plug?
Other than my Twitter, you can follow me on Twitter at QT_Quinn Thomas. I'm really heavy into Giants Twitter. Other than that, you might see some political stuff, but yeah, follow me. It'll be fun.
That's all right. They see plenty of political stuff on mine too. So yeah, next time we'll get him to put it down there. Like ours is all nice and pretty right
Yeah,
here.
yeah, I
So
see that.
yeah, we're gonna have to make sure that he does that next time. That way y'all can actually see it. But you can also go to our Twitter, go to our followers. You'll see him there as well if you need to find him there. But I think this is a perfect place to end it. I see got some likes, got some people in. We love y'all. We appreciate it. Make sure y'all hit all the red buttons, launch all the nukes. It's the only way that we can stay alive is by nuking everybody else. So make sure y'all do that. And for the Answers 42 Media and the West is Best podcast, I am your host, Dan Wetstein. That is my co host, Quinn Thomas. And as always, don't question the blue,